Hey there, hey, it's me again, Tom, and I'm going to deviate from course today a little bit because, my son is going away to college, and this little video is for him and his friends because they'll have an apartment, and I know that they've spent little or zero time in the kitchen, but they will be cooking, I guess sometimes they have a meal plan, but they'll also be making some of their own food. So we're going to go back to basics, okay? So this is my favorite kind of knife that I use every day, and I want to show you a few little knife skills. This way, if you use these knife skills properly, you'll cut yourself probably about as much as I cut myself. So, but maybe no more than that. You're right. Never grab it like this. That would be bad. Make sure it's sharp. Because a sharp knife, when you do cut yourself, it doesn't hurt as much. And we're going to go through a few things. This is my green pepper. I've already rinsed it. I rinsed it and washed it because you don't know which peasants were at the store touching it and coughing on it, and you don't want their disease, okay? And I'm just going to, Lola's climbing up my leg because she wants to know what I'm talking about, and that's fun. And she didn't distract me. No, not one bit. Notice how there's a lot of seeds in there. And I'm going to pull those seeds out because I don't want the seeds in this. And what we're making today is cheesesteaks because it's easy, right? Plus, it's funny. They're in Philadelphia. They could just go around the corner and get a cheesesteak. But the idea behind this is that, what I'm going to do, you can use for sausage and peppers. You can do for anything. We're just going to saute some peppers and onions. And what I'd like to do here is make sure that, I've got no seeds left in there. And you see how we've got the skin side here? Now my knife is sharp enough to go through that nice and easy, but if your knife is a little more dull, this side will actually let you grab easier. So you'll get the feel of that when you touch it. Notice also I'm a lefty, but I'm holding the food down and I'm just guiding the knife along those knuckles, right? Just like that, okay? And you're gonna do it the opposite, righty. Now watch me cut I can't do it, I just can't. Wow, that is very uncomfortable for me. So I'm gonna continue to do it left-handed. And you see how I'm cutting them fairly uniformly. This way they all cook at the same rate. I'm going to say funny things sometimes because if my son's friends are watching this, I want them to think that I'm the funny, cool dad, right? Because, I am, right? I'm the funny, cool dad. And looks aren't everything, right? So, it's funny, haha, not funny looking, right? Okay. So that's that for the pepper. And now the onion is a different story. All right, so here I've got a sweet onion. And what I'm going to do is just lob off the top, lob off the bottom. And you see how you can just grab a little piece there and just peel it back, right? And you just want to peel off like the outer skin. You don't have to go, you could peel off as many layers as you want, but you don't want to waste too much of the onion. And there it is. So there's my onion, and I'm going to just slice it in half. And because we're doing sauteed peppers and onions, I'm just going to see how the grain goes that way. I'm just going to see it? Nice and thin. Not super thin. Again, remember, I want all of this to cook pretty much at the same rate, okay? And then the next part is to get it into the pan with some olive oil, and we're going to just put it over a low flame, and I'll show you the size of that flame. And then we're going to just, let it slow saute for a while until they soften, and maybe put a little color on them. That's it. All right, so let's see, do I get it correct this time? Nope. Okay, so the flame is going to be about there, right? It says maybe a 3.5 on my dial. I don't want it too high. We'll probably put it a little bit lower. And we're going to be, you know, liberal with the olive oil. Because, like I said, we're going to do this nice and slow. And that olive oil is actually going to add a really nice flavor to the peppers and the onions. Now, usually, I'd wait for the oil to get hot before I throw this stuff in. But for what we're doing, it doesn't matter, right? I'm just going to throw it all in. And, you know, the oil's not hot yet. I can actually mix it with my hands a little bit. And we're just going to let this go. And, you know, as long as we keep that flame nice and low, you don't have to watch it like a baby. Though, you know, it's important. It's important to watch what you're doing. Because if the flame's a little bit higher, you can go from almost done to burnt very, very rapidly. So that's that. And I don't want to get fancy. I'm going to get some tongs. And we're just going to make sure that all of this is tossed. Okay? Now, that's going to stay on that burner for, like I said, probably half hour. And I'm going to check it every 10 minutes just to make sure that, you know, things are progressing properly. Okay, so we're about a half hour into the process, and you see how not much has changed. These peppers and onions are not nearly done yet. And that's because I was downstairs working, and I don't have the time to sit up here and watch this like a baby. But if I'm able to sit and watch it like a baby, I can certainly raise the flame like to there, or even higher. And then I could just sit here and make sure that they don't burn. But if I'm away, I lower the flame. This way I'm safe. Alrighty. So, you know, if you're gonna make cheesesteaks, I like to use this kind of bread. It doesn't have to be exactly this bread, but that's the kind of bread I like to use. And since, you know, I bought it in a package like that, I'm probably gonna stick it in the toaster just to give it a better texture. Okay, so here's a simple math question. Listen to me, arithmetic, right? It's $6.79, but it's 14 ounces. So how much is it per pound? Who cares? Anyhow, this stuff is great for making cheesesteaks. It's already thinly shredded. All you gotta do is put a little bit of seasoning, a little oil, and you just toss it in a nice no-stick pan like this one. Doesn't have to be a no-stick pan, but no-stick makes it easier. All right, so my flame is lit. I'm using this burner because it's closer to the camera. And we're gonna saute up a little bit of that shredded beef. I'm gonna hit it with a little olive oil, and I'm gonna use a little bit of salt and pepper, and we're gonna hit it with a little bit, just a little bit of garlic and onion. You don't have to. I like to. Now, like with the onions, I used a lot. With this, just a little. I don't want that steak drowning in oil. Whereas the onions, the oil, really adds a nice flavor to it. I'm gonna let that warm up, and then we're gonna throw the steak in. All right, it looks like the viscosity has changed. And now we're gonna throw in some of that nice shredded beef. And I'm gonna put in enough for a sandwich. And then I'm gonna put in enough for another sandwich. You see how I make my sandwiches a little bit more beefy than the kiosk at the mall. Okay, this is a little bit of salt, just a bit. Gonna hit it with a little bit of black pepper and a little bit of onion. Oh, just a bit. Just make it rain just a bit. It's like a sun shower, right? And that's it. And now we're gonna Toss it around. This isn't the, I remember when I was a kid they had this thing called Steakums. They probably still exist. This is a little bit different. This is actually really, really thinly sliced beef. I didn't read what cut it was. I have to look at the label. But it's a nice piece of meat for this purpose. And I'm just making sure that I cook it all the way through. Okay, let's stop the video until it changes a bit. Okay, that is just about done. It's almost there. And the onions are on the back burner. They're looking good. Very shortly, I'm going to make my first sandwich. Okay. Alrighty. So you see what I've got lined up here, right? I'm just going to put that meat on that piece of bread just like that. And I'll line it all up. But that's a nice hearty sandwich. All right, and then I'm going to go make another sandwich. But before we do that, let's complete this one, okay? So, put the pan down. You see what I've got here. Usually I'd use a really nice, a real American cheese, but this is keeping with tradition also. Let me go get some of the peppers. Okay, so I'm just going to put some of those peppers on there. Just like that. And I'm going to go get a utensil so I can spread that cheese whiz on there, on the lid, and that's a sandwich. Okay, so see, I'm not going to go crazy with it. That's enough. Put that lid on, and that is a nice cheesesteak, homemade. I'm going to make another one, and I don't need to bore you with the other. Well, maybe I will. So while we're doing this, interestingly enough, my wife is not a big fan of the whole cheesesteak thing, but we can make a variation. And what I'm doing is I have a little bit of some sliced up ciabatta, and I'm just going to put a little bit of peppers and onions on each one, and I'm going to top them with a little bit of the steak with no cheese, because she likes no cheese, and that is a lovely little snack as well. Okay, you see what I'm doing here? I'm making what looks like a little appetizer, right? And I'm going to serve that to Leah with a fork and a knife, and that's going to be a delicious little snack. Okay, and there's my other cheesesteak. That one's for me. And it's going to be delicious.